Hi everyone, and welcome to the third in this long list of Azure streams that I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to get straight into it tonight because we have a fantastic guest, and we're going to add in the good and only John Lunn. John, how are you, sir?
Mr.
Long
City,
time no
pleasure to
speak.
see you as always. It's been too long. Where have you been? I missed you.
Yeah, I think it was Christmas the last time we spoke on something
Yeah,
like
you're
this.
probably right.
How are you
You're
doing?
probably right. No, really well. Yeah, really well. Thanks for inviting me on first, Greg. Great to see you doing these
You're
talks.
very
I've seen you
welcome.
got a long list of fab guests coming on, so
Yeah,
looking forward to seeing them. But no, been going
the
great.
idea, the
Yeah,
good, all good. Awesome. The idea is to start off with me getting the hang of this. I'm going to speak to some people, and then we're going to start doing some coding as well. So hopefully we'll jump
yeah.
into the coding. Not yourself, so don't worry. You looked worried there when I said coding. We'll probably do some live streaming of writing code down the line, but the first kind of 20 people, 20 sessions, I'm just going to chat to people. So yeah. Oh, there's a few people already in. Let's say hello to Andrew. Good evening.
Andrew, evening.
Mr. McCallum. Who else we got? We've got. There's a little look back on the audio. Okay.
Anyway, I'll stick my headphones on. I
Sure,
was
I can do
worried
much
that
with
might
that.
happen.
Okay. I might do the same. Just let me know if there's still some look back. And Mert, evening
Hi,
Mert, how
Mel.
are you, sir? Good to see you. Cool. So John, we haven't spoken since I think it was Christmas. I'm pretty sure. So since then, you did your message where you hung up your MVP. Tell us all about that and how that came about and joining Microsoft
Yeah,
and kind of what you've been.
I'm very conscious that I kind of left the community. I never intended to leave it in such a dramatic way, but it's like hung up the MVP, goodbye, and no, and I'm very conscious that I've kind of been quite quiet since, I guess. But yeah, for those that don't know, for those watching, I took a job at Microsoft. So as you know, yourself, you're an MVP, Gregor, but you can't be an MVP if you are a full-time employee. So yeah, I got a job in Microsoft, started there in November, so it probably would have been about Christmas time we last spoke, I guess. Yeah, but do you know what? Since I joined, it's been a whirlwind. It's been an absolute whirlwind. It's right what they say. My feet haven't touched the ground. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Been a little bit of negativity. Obviously, there was not a great time for the industry, but economic climate. There've been redundancies in the tech community, which obviously have been a bit of a bad taste and a little bit of a bad part of the experience. But on the whole, I can't complain.
Yeah.
The job has been really good, really engaging, and I'm kind of loving it. There's just so much to do at the moment, and just get my feet under the table, so to speak.
Well, I think from speaking from everyone's point of view, it's good to see you. Good to see you back, and hopefully you can resurrect and come back and do your sessions because I really liked your sessions that you were doing, talking to people. They were
No,
awesome.
thanks, bud. No, like I
So how
said,
is
it's one of
Microsoft?
those things.
How's
Yeah.
Microsoft treating you?
Sorry, Gregor. I think we've got a bit of a delay here as well.
Delay. That's okay. Yeah, I think there is a bit of a delay. We'll just continue. So how is Microsoft treating you?
Really well. Yeah, do you know what? It's like I say, my feet really haven't touched the ground, but it was that I suppose to kind of frame what I did and why I took the job at Microsoft was for those that know me, they'll know that I come from a bit of a technical background. I've worked with technology for 20 plus years now, worked my way up through the system to kind of like that technical architect position, working at BT for a while. And I always kind of half joked with my sales colleagues, but we'd be working with customers and in a pre-sales capacity and talking about solutions and designs and things like that. But I always looked at the sales folk and thought, why are you getting all these big bonuses all the time? Why can I get a look in on any of that? But anyway, it wasn't the entire decision to move into a specialist role with Microsoft. So it's fundamentally in a sales team, in an account team. But my eyes have, and I would say this bit cliche, but my eyes have been opened as to actually how Microsoft approached that whole sales cycle. And so it's been great coming from a technical background into a role that, look, you don't necessarily have to have the kind of technical background that I've come from. You can absolutely have lots of different backgrounds and knowledge and come at it from whichever angle suits you. But coming into a team has kind of done what I'd hoped it would do. Would kind of broaden my horizons in the tech industry, other than just that technical background that I've always had. So that was kind of my drive towards doing something different, was that a little bit of growth, a little bit of the financial thing that everybody looks for when they move jobs, and a little bit of a challenging thing for myself to kind of see, can I cut it in this role? Can I move with the team in these circles, so to speak? But no, it's been great. Really enjoyed it so far. And yeah, I suppose why I've been so quiet is I've been too busy learning and absorbing everything that's been thrown at me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it must be like a fire hose of information. Because when you become an MVP, you get to sign up to like the NDA lists, and then all of a sudden it's millions of emails, and that's quite difficult. What's your inbox like on a daily basis? Must be
yeah,
busy.
Yeah. I just chuckle. I mean, I think it's one of those things. If you're good at keeping on top of things like that, then I'm sure you'll be fine. But we were joking just off camera there. But this is the first job I've had where being triple or quadruple booked in your calendar isn't necessarily a thing that's an extreme. It's generally that is what it is, and it's up to you to kind of pick and choose and prioritize your own work and what you work on next, which gives you a great amount of flexibility with the role. Great working relationships. It is very true that people in Microsoft, they hire brilliant people. So like the virtual teams I'm a part of, they really are, everybody's got each other's backs. We're all kind of working towards a common goal. The talent that's in Microsoft, as you might expect, is phenomenal. And it's just one of those things that how you want to work in this particular role is kind of on your head, what your background is, what you feel you need to prioritize with your customers. So yeah, every day is a school day still for me at the moment. And then you just throw the tech changes in, just because that's the easy bit, right? Learning all this fast pace of change in the technology, that just stays the same, doesn't it? That never changes. So yeah, it's sorry for the sarcasm in case people didn't get that, but yeah, it's
So, what does an Azure specialist at Microsoft do? Do you speak to customers on a daily basis, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, think of an Azure specialist as, I mean, it is part of a sales team. Like I say, it's part of an account team. And like I say, the thing that had opened my eyes with Microsoft is that it's not a hard salesman type position. That I was kind of partly worried that it might be, but it's more of you're in there building relationships up with accounts that you're aligned to. So I'm aligned to an industry. I'm aligned to accounts in the high tech industry and professional services. So a lot of my customers, they're ISVs in their own right. They've got large customer bases. They're consuming lots of cloud, stuff, whether that be products and applications or their own internal, infrastructure to support their own business. And I guess my role in that is basically to work with, from the C-suite through to the dev teams, through to the ops people, whatever it is. If it's got the word Azure in it, which, let's face it, is a lot of things. Things have changed. The FY has just changed now with Microsoft. So last year I was what is called an Azure core specialist. So pretty much I was on the hook for anything with Azure that a customer was interested in or looking to do or had some issues with or needed some commercial incentives to work with. I'd be on the hook for having those initial discussions and working out what it was and, hopefully helping a customer either with Microsoft resources or via the partner ecosystem. And that's changed slightly now. I'm back to being called, I think, an Azure infrastructure specialist, but there are other specialists in the team. So you get a data and AI, you get app innovation specialist, you might have an SAP specialist. So they've slimmed down the specialists this year so far. And I, like I said, I'll be careful what I say too much because it is news and I don't know how much is public knowledge or not, or how much people care. But the specialist role has kind of changed slightly now into this new FY, where, as you can imagine, every year Microsoft changes the goalpost, so to speak, to suit the industry and the customer demands. So yeah, my role is day-to-day contact with customers and my virtual team and partners, looking at solutions, not just from a technical perspective, but from a commercial perspective, making those solutions fly in the right and the best way, and basically try and become that trusted advisor rather than be seen as part of an account team. And I think it does work very well. And luckily for me, a lot of my accounts so far, I believe I've, kind of managed to get to that stage with speaking to a lot of great people in those accounts as well. So yeah, really enjoying it.
How do you stay technical? How do you keep your skills up to date while you're doing that? I take it you're getting lots of training in between customer calls. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, do you know what? I think that question is the same question if you currently work in tech, right? I think it's the
Anyway,
same question. Yeah, I think the reality is you don't. And I think the one thing I said to you again, I miss the community because for me, being part of the community is part of those learnings because you will, you'll be reading somebody's blog post or you'll be reading a conversation between two techies that you knew or whatever it may be. And I've lost that element over the last few months that I miss a lot. But you're right, the opportunity for training is absolutely there. And the
Mhm.
role demands, I'm in charge of my own calendar essentially. So it's on
Yeah.
me how I prioritize my time. So being good with time management is absolutely a thing you probably want to have being in this kind of position. And then what do you kind of focus on? Because I come into this role with a technical background, arguably, I probably got a decent amount of technical capability already.
Yeah.
Whereas, do I want to further that in other areas that I could do? What would the benefit be to my customers? Is probably what I got to think about. Do I
Mhm.
need to gem up? And from my own personal development, the answer is yeah, absolutely. And Microsoft would support that. Obviously, they want people to be at the top of the game and they
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
encourage that. But then related to the day to day, I'm kind of relatively new into the job. Am I missing out on anything yet? Yeah, of course I am. The pace of change is too quick still with technology, but
Yeah.
is it annoying me? Yes, of course it is. I want to get my technical skills, on top again. Um, can I do it at the minute? It's down to priorities. It's that thing. But yeah, the opportunities, like I say, that those triple, quadruple booked. A lot of the time, there's many, many different training opportunities, whether that be on products, whether that be on systems or processes. There are lots of opportunity. It's just how I manage those myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that a big change from your previous role, or is it similar?
In some ways it's similar in the sense that I'm speaking with customers,
Mhm. Yeah.
understanding their problems, understanding what the customers are looking to achieve. Um, in certain respects is completely different. I think the structure differences are clear with it. I love the way that Microsoft structured the V teams, and the fact that they hire in, really, really clever people. I've been kind of humbled a number of times, and thankfully so. You're on calls, and I'm absorbing so much from other people, which is something that
Mhm.
I wanted in a career
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's no good being there and thinking, oh, I'd never think, oh, I know all this. But you know what it's like. Sometimes you're on a call and you think, I hope I'm not the person that knows the most because that's a bad thing, right? That's Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I'm never that person, but I know what you mean.
but sometimes, but no, honestly, I think it's been great because just on that, like I said, I've had so much to learn on this particular role on that side of the fence, and still do have a lot to learn. And it's like just great being part of a great bunch of people, great V teams, working with some brilliant customers, great projects that arguably I probably wouldn't have been working on if I'd have stayed where I was. So that as well has been quite a nice
Mhm.
breath of fresh
Yeah. Yeah.
air.
Change.
Um,
Good.
so yeah, and size and scale of customers and opportunities, they've
Bigger.
been great. Kind of yeah,
Yeah.
lots of eye-opening
Good.
things
That's
to
good
be
to hear.
involved with. Yeah.
So you joined roundabout. Maybe it wasn't roundabout, but when you joined, there was lots of Microsoft people being made redundant. How worried were you when you started that? Because something we need to talk about because they were getting rid of people. What sort of things were you seeing? Don't obviously don't get into too much detail, but you must have been worried when you started at Microsoft. No.
Oh, of course, yeah. Well, obviously, we didn't. I think it was the January. I think when the announcement was made, I think we knew that certain, other companies in the tech industry would start making layoffs, and I guess I remember picking up a little bit of the rumor mill starts, and you kind of,
Mm.
you hear these things, but I think then in January it was kind of made real with the announcement, and yeah, it was absolutely for me, new into a business straight away. It was like, oh, okay, fair enough. Joined not quite at the right time, but clearly, if my numbers are up, my numbers are up. I'll find a job, kind of thing. Just take it for what it is. And yeah, unfortunately, you looked around the Twitter space, LinkedIn, and our close friends from Microsoft at the time, Greg. We could start to see the
Yeah.
kind of caliber and the scale of the cuts, and it wasn't at all a pleasant, and it still isn't a pleasant because there've been more recent announcements as well as that we know of. So,
yeah.
Look, I think I've taken it with a bit of pragmatism that it is okay, it's been great. I understand. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I've heard lots of things said about why a tech company's doing this, and look, you've got to cut your cloth, your cloth to suit. There's no point, and I've heard the other side of the arguments. And look, at the end of the day, from my point of view, it was more of a yes, it was a worry. If my numbers were up, they were up. I wouldn't have held that against Microsoft. It was just bad timing, whatever you want to call it. You've got to move on. Simple as that. But it's unfortunate that undoubtedly it's probably hit a lot of families in a lot of worse ways that maybe I could have survived a little bit easier. Maybe, I don't know. It's not nice when you're going through those. Unfortunately, I've lived through a number of redundancy situations over my career, and it's never nice. It's always a horrible place to be, but you just got to, try your hardest to look on the positive. It's not like, you're out on your backside the day after, and appreciate there may have been some instances like that, but from what I understand, people weren't necessarily left out to, high and dry, and, they had the opportunity for time and find other jobs, and obviously the severance payment. So, it wasn't a great time, but
I can imagine. Okay, cool. I just want to say hello to Dean, Scott, Michael, Richard. Richard's got a good question. I was going to ask something very similar. Can you go into what kind of projects you've been working on or not?
Probably not. No. I mean, but probably not specifics of projects. But I guess the difference is to the projects that I've worked on. Remember when I was at BT, the kind of projects I'd work on would be hands-on. I'd be doing the design, the delivery, and I guess one of the differences with the approach that I'm on now is that I'm working with, like I say, my customer base is in the high-tech pro services industry. So you can probably imagine that a lot of these companies are building software products of their own. They go into market with their own versions of products. They've got stuff everywhere. It's in multi-cloud, it's in private data centers, it's in Azure at the moment. And, you can start to see that holistically, what does that mean for a business? What can Microsoft offer at that grand scale? So now, rather than looking at a project by project, absolutely there is that part of the job where a customer may have, a particular app that they want to move from a private DC into Azure. But then holistically, when a customer's got tens, 20s, hundreds of different applications, what is that strategic overall plan and going forward? So, the kinds of things that have kind of opened my eye up to the commercial side are, what does that mean for larger companies and their commercial agreements, and how you kind of bring those to a point where it's a mutually beneficial kind of thing, where the more Azure that is consumed by a customer means great from a Microsoft point of view, but equally that's got to be mutually beneficial, that it works into their own growth plans as a business. So certainly working with the partner side of Microsoft and looking at the strategic growth for businesses with selling services of their own on Azure through Azure Marketplace, being one area, has been quite a large eye opener. So I won't go into too much detail, but I've been dealing with large contracts that probably the largest I've ever dealt with, up to now. But they're technology wise, covering the plethora, you could probably name it, and I've been involved in a conversation about it so far, and that's been good as well. Landing the first IoT conversation was always a good bit of fun for me.
What's your favorite technology within Azure to talk about and talk to customers about?
Do you know what? I'd probably say it was the IoT landscape. I think you probably appreciate I've talked more about AI in the last 6 months than I have in my whole life. But AI, generative AI now, it's one of those forced fun conversations. Don't get me wrong, it is a lot of fun. But once you've had the conversation 20 times, don't get me wrong, it is still good, and it's great, working with customers, trying to help them identify use cases. That's, we know that's going to be a big thing. Outside of that, as much as I always said to people from a developer point of view, I knew enough to be dangerous, but I really love the integration, app integrations kind of services with things like APIs and, Azure Functions, and being able to kind of put the glue in place between applications and systems integration. I love talking about those things, mainly because at that stage, people look at me and think, what do you know about in Azure then? It's like, well, come on, let's talk nitty gritty. How are you going to join this system? I love that. But what I find now is when you get onto those conversations, I've got to look for that scale opportunity. So it's great to talk a bit about those things on a one-on-one with a developer and a particular team working on this particular application. But I'm having that conversation with the pretext of how can we scale that? Can we scale that throughout? Can we get to standardized practices and so? Do you know what I mean? There's part of it is absolutely wanting to help an individual developer achieve something, and the other part is how do I make that so across the entirety of not just that app, but move that into this app, and how can we do some standardization? But that's the area. So as an infrastructure person, people don't tend to think that I'd speak at that kind to those points. But yeah, I do enjoy when it comes to that anyway.
Michael Durkin, nice to see you, Michael. Question here: how did the move from BT to Microsoft, where you are helping and engaging with the same profile of customer, help you settle into your new role? Good question.
No, it's a good, and I guess it helped me a lot. I felt that I was able to hit the ground running a little bit at Microsoft because, it was very similar environments. Maybe, different teams, different caliber, different scale, different kind of skill sets of people were around me. But it kind of helped a lot, to be honest. You are at BT. I was in BT Enterprise, so I was speaking with enterprise, commercial enterprise, and public sector customers on a day-to-day basis. So that. That landscape hasn't really changed a whole heap. Maybe I'm speaking more at the C-suite level now than I was at BT, arguably, because being more of a technical person, you tend to speak at the CTO level and down. But yeah, I'm getting involved with conversations with more of the C-suite, as you might expect now, because we're talking not just tech, we're talking commercials and strategy as well for the business. But to be honest, it did. And the profile of customer, you're right. If you've got those enterprise level kinds of customers, and you've been in those situations where you've been, sat around a big exec boardroom table speaking about the art of the possible, then that hasn't changed a whole heap on that side, other than I'm talking predominantly Microsoft now.
Sounds like you've found the ideal job. Sounds like you're having a lot of fun. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Honestly, I think like I say, with that slight negative bit that we've experienced with Microsoft, with redundancy situations that, look, unfortunately hasn't helped us. But to kind of counter that, what I've loved learning and seeing how Microsoft have kind of handled that is genuinely, and it would sound obvious that I would say this because I'm now employed by Microsoft, but I've really enjoyed to see how Microsoft have adapted to meet customers' demands. Because let's face it, every business has had the same problem. They've all been hit with higher energy bills. They've all been, hit with, general cost of living prices rising as individuals and as businesses. But yet business problems are still rolling in. Businesses are still expected to achieve, not to spout off Microsoft statement, but achieve more with less, right? So when I joined, there was a kind of not a mantra, but a methodology, if you like, that was seen to help customers, which was absolutely, you're in a sales focused team, but we need to stay close and make sure that we can help customers optimize their costs as much as possible. So some of my customers are spending, £500,000 to £1 million a month on Azure services easily. And it's like, right, my job was to go in and sit down with their FinOps people, their commercial people, and their technical teams, and say, right, how can we apply some reserved instances? What about savings plans? How can we re-architect some of these solutions? Modernize those apps a little bit to try and look to save some money. And I think a lot of the customers I dealt with were a little bit taken aback by that. Thinking, wow, what Microsoft are actually telling me to spend less money, and it's like. I mean, the whole idea was, look, you spend less money, you're not annoyed about your bill at the end of the month. But then equally, if you've got more money to spend, you might want to reinvest it in the areas that might matter to you, like innovation or security or whatever it might be. So yeah, like I say, just to counter that negativity, it's not that Microsoft, they do genuinely have that customer right at the center of all the conversations, and it's been a bit of a breath of fresh air to kind of see that in action, if you like, and be part of it. So good fun.
Cool. Got one more question, I think. I wasn't planning to spend this long talking about your job, but let's keep going. So Steve, Hi Steve. Steve wants to know, what would you change about your current role?
More hours in the day, Steve. Honestly, It sounds sad, but I've always been the same. I really sad or whatever you want to call it. When I'm engaged in my job, I love my job. I love work, and I love dealing with tech. I love dealing with people and customers. What would I change specifically to give you a sensible answer? I don't know how I would change it, but to be able to get more easier ways of prioritizing what I need to do would be a great thing to work out. Because I think at the minute, like I said at the start of the show, I've never had a job where I've been triple, quadruple booked on a
Quadruple booked. Wow.
It's a thing, Gregor. It's a thing of glory. And if you've got a color coordinated calendar, it's I color code my calendar, right? And
people do that. Yeah.
It's like a Picasso at the end of the month. But no, but yeah, honestly, I think if there were a way to, something come through and have your you automatically prioritize your work in your calendar, that would be something I'd change. Mr. Shabazz Dart. Hey, good luck, Shabazz. I saw his news yesterday.
Yeah,
I think
awesome news, Shabazz. Congrats.
Yeah,
we'll need to have Shabazz on before he moves. Yeah. Pete's also got a good comment. You change it by building more bombs.
100%. 100%. I like I said, I've been fortunate to have a couple of conversations about IoT now with customers, and the passion is 100% still there. And look, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to be part of this IoT digital twin, this data AI movement. I'll be there with.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Right, let's change subjects. But just before we do, I wanted to say hello to Ivana, who's joined us all the way from Argentina. So hi, Ivana. Hopefully you're going to Ignite this year, and we'll say hello again. So that'd be good. If you want to come on, just let us know. I've actually got a wee thing I can put on here. So if you would like to come on the show, just fill that in. Hopefully a time that suits, and you can come and join us. So that'd be brilliant if you could do that. What other comments? We've got another comment. Yeah, Pete saying yes, IoT for the win.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So the main reason why I wanted to get you on was everybody's probably been missing you from doing your in conversation with, and probably one or two people thinking, "Where's John gone? He's disappeared." But
he's vanished.
Obviously, we knew you were busy. So everyone missing your in conversation with, do you think you will ever have time to bring that back? Is that a plan, or is that just not in the cards?
You've sorted it now. I don't need to do that anymore. You've got this now. You've got this. I've been. Absolutely, it's been on, kind of the back of my mind since I kind of put that last post out about hanging up the MVP and did my last weekly video. I never made it to the 100 episodes. So, Gregor, it's got to get to 100 episodes on my weekly.
How many did you get to?
I think about 96, 97, I think it was.
Well, we can get the people here. We'll just all join. We'll all join and have a chat.
It was but in conversation with, I think I hit the 2 years. 100 or so episodes, I think, which was great, And do you know what, Gregor, stick at doing this, having a chat with all the awesome folks in the community, because honestly, when I did this a couple of years ago, over the last few years, you kind of come out with some sort of awareness by speaking to so many people. You get this kind of, feeling that something, but you don't quite know how you know it. It's but yeah, I'd love to, and at some stage, no doubt I will. I think it's just a timing thing to do. Whether I do the weekly show or the in convo with whatever, I want to get back to community and doing some stuff. I think it's been here we are, Johhny Chipz in conversation with everyone. Oh, that'll be a good one. Yeah, conversation. No, I really would. I think it'll be interesting now to see, how the landscape has changed, because all the technologies, we were kind of, talking and discussing over the last few years have kind of started to become staples. Some of those technologies have fallen by the wayside. Others have kind of championed and brought in. So it'd be quite a cool thing, I think, now to kind of see in this gap how much things have changed, from my own viewpoint. If I start speaking around the community again, that would be a cool thing to understand. But and how do you capture that information, and kind of what does it mean? Is Kubernetes still the next big thing? I don't know. You tell me.
I can guarantee somebody's going to add a comment on that.
That question. Wait for Pixel Robots to pipe up now. Of course it is.
Me too. My question to you, the one question I had was, have you bought any new equipment? Because you always used to buy new equipment every time we saw you. I'm guessing you have.
Do you know, I'm just looking around. Like I said to you just before this, I haven't worked in this studio quite as much as I would like to, purely because I know Dean's on now. But as as an advertisement for security in Microsoft, my God, they got it right. Security scanned my computer and they knew it was my computer. They instantly kicked me off the system and they said, "You're not having your computer back." So, and I'm not joking. I was literally blocked out my own PC because it found some little bit of malware, I guess, in one of my profiles, and there we go. So so for that reason, I haven't been able to set. I've been meaning to rebuild the PC, and so I haven't bought. I'm just looking around. I've still got loads of stuff here now that I still want to play with on a daily basis, but no, nothing for the office. Nothing for the office is new.
Okay.
I've been threatening to, you probably remember when I started building this up.
Yeah.
God, it's got to be 3 years ago now, haven't it? Something like that.
Yeah.
This whole office needs it's time for a nice clean refresh and back in, and whether
you
that's
could
in the
probably
same
sell your stuff to some people in this chat. I'm pretty sure people would like. I'll take it.
Gregor, look at my background now. Can you see some of the bulbs are starting to go? Look at my strip lighting. That's not good. No, Govey didn't tell me that the bulbs would go after a while. I thought these were LEDs.
Didn't tell him, did that? That's why I made it off.
Yeah, there we go. So it's great, but I still got the garage with all the flashing lights around it. I've still got, it's all still here. Still got the green screen behind me. For those of you that love green screens, it's still there.
Good stuff.
I stub my toe on it most mornings. Well,
so I see you're still doing the Welsh Azure user group. How's that going? How many sessions have you had now, and how's that going in general?
Still going. Normally the third Wednesday of each month we try and hold it. We're still very much virtual, and we've been threatening to go back to a hybrid or in-person only for a long time. And do you know what? I think it's just time for both. It's mainly myself and Matt Tunker now. Yes, supported by you're right, Scott. Yeah, you're not wrong. It's mainly no, Dean. It's mainly what was I saying now? I can't even remember what I was saying, but mainly me and Matt now kind of running it. We've got a few other guys behind the scenes, but I think we both kind of changed jobs. So it's not that it's still going ahead great, and we're still getting. We got Mr. Ellaby on in next week's session. Next Wednesday we're back on for the next session, and so they're still going great, but they very much are still the virtual at the moment. I think because of time, we've got opportunities, lots of opportunities to go back in person down in Cardiff in the partners space, but the Microsoft space unfortunately is closed down in Cardiff now, the tram shed. So we've got other partners. Yeah, they unfortunately through all the things they ended up closing a lot of the event spaces and whatnot as well. So so we've got opportunity, but I think it's just time. And I think what me and Matt were talking about, which is not wanting to do, and this has been a classic conversation for user groups for probably a number of years now. People very much are, I think, burnt out by the whole virtual 45-minute sessions, and I think we felt that slight lull. We're still getting kind of late teens into 20s attendance virtually, which is great, and we'll still keep doing it because we enjoy doing them. But I think it's always trying to find that what next. What is the next engaging bit? Is it a hack? Is it something different? Do we change focus or tact? But fundamentally we're still going. We're probably closing up to 3 years.
That's awesome.
I think it was about August, September time was 3-year mark for when it was rebranded to the Welsh Azure. So quite chuffed, bit of an accomplishment to keep that rolling for kind of 36 months. And add many people. And there we go.
How do you go about finding speakers? How do you go about finding speakers for your Welsh Azure?
So Sessionize, for those that haven't used Sessionize, they did a nice little community tweak on it. You probably are aware of it, Gregor, where for any community user groups, you could tell Sessionize that you were a user group, and they wouldn't charge you for it first and foremost, and you could add a different way of scheduling your dates and events in there. So we very much use Sessionize, and it's a great platform. Every now and again, you'll probably see me retweet out when the stock of speakers is running out, or don't get me wrong, we've had some brilliant people on and give us loads of great sessions, but it's like one of those things where we try hard to mix it up a little bit and go from like an infra type session to a dev type session, and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
tried
yeah.
that, just to keep it fresh a little bit. And we've started to kind of hit similar topics now, over the last,
Yeah, yeah,
you're going to hit the same topic. So,
yeah, yeah.
like I say, look, and if anybody's got any ideas, reach out, send us a message, please, all ears. And anybody in the community that's got any plans or anything, then feel free to reach out and let us know what you think might be good.
Yeah,
But
the Glasgow Azure user group, that's back in person.
yeah,
It's going well. It's about, well, we've limited to 50 people because of the office space that we've got, but we're still getting about 30 to 40 at least. So yeah,
yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that is.
yeah.
And maybe that is the thing. Maybe that's the thing that we need to do. Because I think I've seen quite a few of the user groups now go back to in person.
Yeah.
Are you doing that as a hybrid event as well, Greg, or are you just keeping that
No,
as
no. I think we've just decided. Well, Sarah's just decided it's easier. We don't really have time to do all the setup and stuff like that. To be honest with you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So we're doing every 2 months. Which is working well. It's good.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Me and Matt, I think up to now we've just carried on doing the monthly thing, and but we'll have a look at that. Oh, there we go.
Oh, we've got somebody from LinkedIn saying they'd like to speak again, but I don't know who that is. So
Yeah,
that's
well,
interesting.
I mean, I'll ping out the sessionized link. Look on my LinkedIn profile. I'll ping out the sessionized link later
Yeah,
tonight.
your LinkedIn profile is that one. So you can reach if you want to get in contact with John. You can reach in LinkedIn on there, and also on that's on his website, and he's also Twitter on here as well.
Do you know what? WordPress renewed me the other day, and I had like 120 odd pound. I was like, God, did I really pay that much for WordPress? But yeah, I haven't. I got to update the old blog site and get some blogs on it.
Mr. Atherton.
There we are. He's just a LinkedIn user.
Yeah, so if anyone here wants to speak at the Glasgow Azure user group, we can reciprocate. So yeah, that would be good. You just need to go up to Glasgow, which isn't the worst thing in the world. So it's in person. So
nice trip up north.
Yeah. What else is happening with John? What else is happening? The kid still playing ice hockey and busy.
Greg, yeah. Do you know what? It's like when COVID struck, and we all had this time, and I was doing my shenanigans and having a bit of fun with the studio and building up my kind of network of friends across the community. In the back of my head, I knew that the day would come where we'd all be back out to work. I'd be up and down the motorway. The kids would be back to their activities, and factor in a job change, and I have zero time. John time doesn't exist. In fact, I've had the other half go on to me lately. We need date nights, and she's right, absolutely right. So we've got our first date night in a long time tomorrow. So we're going to go and see.
Nice.
We're going to go and see Mission Impossible. Have a bit of food.
Tomorrow is it? Cool.
Well, yeah. Well, she's booked it for us. So, but that's in between dropping my son off at ice hockey. Absolutely. So it's interspliced with. So, it's. Do you know what? I wouldn't change it for the world. For those of you who don't know, my son's big into his ice hockey. He's been out in Canada for a year, which kind of give us a bit of a reprieve from all the traveling up and down the country. But then I got two daughters, and the one daughter's into a netball. It's the same story, traveling up and down, not so far for netball, which is a good thing. But yeah, dad's taxi, Gregor, I think is probably the best way to sum it up. And like I say, I wouldn't change it for the world. It's great.
No, that's good.
And be part
you got
of
any holidays planned? Have you got any time to go anywhere? No.
Yes, no. We absolutely have. Me and the wife booked off 2 weeks in August. And then I get a call that my son's been asked to play a tournament in Slovakia for the first part of that 2 weeks that we've got booked off. So I'll be off to Slovakia with my son and without the wife for the first week, the second week in August. And then we find out that he's actually due to go and play in the GB under-19s, what they call skater hockey. In Austria. So and that's the beginning of September. So our holidays have basically turned into an extended kids trip thing again. So you can see the patterns, right? Yeah. So yeah,
this is why people don't see John online anymore, because he's too busy doing all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Well, my boy was fortunate. He got invited, so he's got next week. He's got a couple of days to trial for GB men's or under 18s ice hockey, which is for him a great, obviously, privilege. And I'd love to get to see him get into that, but it's a big thing. So of course that landed right in the middle of when we got the holidays booked. So it's like, right, we take that opportunity away from him, which, look, he's been playing for 10 years since a small child.
Oh,
And you
well.
think, well, I can't, can't,
Yes.
so
Yes.
so we've got Slovakia, 2 days in Sheffield, or potentially in Nottingham, sorry, and then a weekend in Austria, and then potentially the following weekend in Spain for a bit of time, just for another hockey tournament. But we'll fit in proper holiday, I'm sure, at some point as well. We
Yeah,
might
you need
get
to.
away.
You'll
We'll
need
get
to
down
get
to
some downtime.
Cardiff for a cup of tea.
Yeah, get some
Cardiff.
downtime and redo your room.
I'd love to. Yeah, there's. I might have to put out to Elgato again. I'm redoing my room, Elgato.
You must have shares in Elgato. Surely, I'm pretty sure they would sponsor Johhny Chipz redoing his room.
They did. I think it might still be on the table, actually, because there were a few ideas I had for community. In fact, Dean knows of them with the whole game show stuff that we were talking about doing. And yeah, there's, Elgato were really great. They offered lots for that, so I might have to bring that one back up at some point.
Cool. I was going to ask you about. That's me just running out of questions. I was going to ask you about some things in Azure, going back to your Azure job. Have you done anything with DevBox at all yet?
Yeah, funny enough, yeah. Well, say done anything other than spoken with customers and kind of, yeah. I mean, well, the install is quite an interesting thing, actually, because you've got the whole networking piece to put in there as well. But yeah, my involvement has been more around what are the technical advances between DevBox and kind of running that whole dev experience on an AVD setup. I did say Nottingham. I'll let you know, Pete, if it works out. So yeah, so fast blue smiling, face blue smiling.
Don't know what that means.
Oh yeah, he's probably remembering the game show things we were talking about.
Ah, yes.
But yeah. So DevBox, purely from a you look at it from a price point, right? And what are you trying to achieve with DevBox as opposed to how could you achieve that with kind of native AVD configurations? But yeah, what in particular have you kind of hit?
No, it was just popped up just before the show, and I thought I'll ask John if he knows anything about it. I've not really looked at it.
Yeah, it's been quite interesting, actually, because obviously we knew it was coming. We heard a little bit more about some of the newer announcements and some of the GAs at builds. But I think one thing that struck me was the choice of the sizes, and that's come up with a couple of customers, actually, the machine type sizes that you can get with DevBox. I think the product group, kind of ditched the 4 vCPU offering because it was just seen as slightly underpowered and not necessarily apt for a developer. So I think the minimum now is an 8 vCPU box. I think there's a 16 and potentially 32 vCPU offering as well. But the one thing that struck me was the integration with the Intel chips, in the sense that you've got this CPU hibernation piece. So what the dev team are looking at is, or the product group rather, is when you can buy I might get this slightly wrong, so please don't quote me, but when you buy an instance of DevBox, you can kind of scale it up to 2 or 3 instances. But to do that, you can keep your costs down by hibernating that actual CPU, which means from a consumption point of view, you're not paying for it, right? You can hibernate it, but keep all the state of that VM in, all the session information, all the state as it is. Which, of course, when you relate that to AVD and you've got a personal or a pooled workspace, is quite a compelling change, because, unless you're going to tell your developers to stop working at 5 o'clock and, auto power your VMs down, which probably won't go down well if you power the host down for your dev teams, gives quite a lot of capabilities. But yeah, so been lots of talk, lots of interest from customers around DevBox, actually, funny enough.
Yeah, it's something that just popped up, and I've got a link there, and I thought I'll ask John about that before I go and read it. What about sorry, on you go.
No, go on, go for it.
When you joined Microsoft, did you get like an employee? Did you get to go to Microsoft Seattle and get a tour or anything like that when you joined?
Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, I hear they do send people and it's on the cards, but no. I think like like a lot of businesses, T&E freezes and spending freezes and all that. But no, unfortunately not. I got the tour of Thames Valley Park, Reading. I managed to get to building.
A slightly different scale. Yeah.
I think the sun was out, so it was a nice day. I'll take that away.
Yeah, that's not too bad. It's quite an awkward place to get to.
TVP, yeah, it's not too bad actually. It's not too bad. You come off the M4.
Not for you, mind you. Yeah.
Yeah, for you, it's yeah.
It's
Not
a
for
lot more
me.
awkward to get
It's all right. So yeah, being 2KS is a nice. It's just office space fundamentally. They got a nice MTC part where they hold the innovation sessions for customers. That's quite impressive.
Right. Okay.
Got a big suite there. I forget which floor it's on in Two Kingdom Street in London, just by Paddington. There's a nice MTC suite, which is where you can do all the exec briefings and innovation sessions with customers, and you get all the cool, intelligent people doing the funky stuff with Azure, in there.
Right,
but no, hopefully I'll get an opportunity. I am told, that there will be opportunities come in to get out to Seattle, so that'll be nice if that comes my way at some point. But no, I'm fundamentally working from home in South Wales, and with the odd visit to Reading or 2KS.
Yeah, Dean's like Reading, Redmond, similar sized locations.
That's right. But no, I noticed, the MVP Summit looked like a lot of fun this year. I could see.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting too much, to be honest with you. I went to Ignite, and it wasn't really that great. I'm pretty sure it's going to can only get better.
I remember you said, yeah.
Yeah, when we went to Redmond, I was blown away by how good it was. It was pretty good. Yeah, the size of the place is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, the fact that you get taxis and stuff, there's Luke's joining. Hi, Luke. Good morning. I wonder what time it is in the New Zealand at this point. It must be like 6 in the morning or something. Yeah. The MVP Summit was really good. I thought it was great, actually. Just being able to walk around the offices.
From the outside looking in, I was crying into my cornflakes with fear of missing out. But yeah, it looked really good. So
yeah, we were in buildings maybe 31 to 35, and that was it. And even that was like taxis between the buildings. So
oh wow,
the full size place is humongous. Absolutely. 6:45. There we go. It's 6:45. That's dedication for you. Yeah, hopefully you get a trip out. That'd be good.
No, it would be. Yeah, I don't know, because I think this time of year at the minute, obviously it's the new FY with Microsoft, so I think this week we're going through the whole, the new from a sales perspective, all the new kind of all the tweaks to the solutions plays and the approaches and things like that, which is really good to see. And it's working for a large enterprise before and working for someone like Microsoft, you see the amount of effort and preparation that has gone into the internal sessions, as you can imagine, are on the same scale as and similar production level as things like Ignite and all the other kind of outwardly facing kind of events that Microsoft build and whatnot. So yeah, internally now this week we got I work in part of the business called MCAPS. So it's Microsoft Customer and Partner Solutions. So that's where I kind of sit. And so they have a big, long week of sessions like an Ignite or Inspire type thing, going through all the news and, a bit like all the that's the other thing as MVPs, that you're under NDAs. It's the same as an employee as you'd expect. So, it's one of those things where you've got to be very mindful about what you say or what you don't say.
What you say. Yeah.
But
I hear when I talk to people who work at Microsoft, they always say that MVPs find out more on things usually sooner than the actual staff most of the time. Do you think that's true?
That probably is true, actually, because I think, depending on where you work, obviously, if you're in the product group, then you're at the coalface, so to speak. But I think with an MVP, you're kind of very focused in a particular area, whereas, I'm not. I'm across a lot of things. So even doing what I was doing to keep up to speed, I would say that's probably true. The MVP community probably will, recognize those updates. It's not to say that I think there are things definitely that I've been party to that, ahead of time. And, of course they do that just basically to prep, the questions that customers may start to have. So at least you've got a bit of a heads up into, you're not on a call and an email goes out and the customer says to you, oh, this name has just changed. You're aware of that before it's gone out, but you're kind of aware from this is going to be announced on such and such a day. You can understand exactly why Microsoft does that. It's totally, it'd be, you've got to gear up community that is kind of vouching for the products and kind of testing them and giving that good feedback to product groups. You've got to gear up your sales teams and, and then let customers know. So, it's a whole heap of effort in its own right.
Is there anything you're working on that we've not seen that obviously you can't talk about? Is there anything coming shortly?
No, not really. Not in the sense, no, because I think, things you mentioned DevBox then, and, it's kind of, I'm not sure if we've had the pricing out yet for the DevBox, the GA. I don't know where we are on the GA with DevBox in its entirety, to be honest, but it's things like that, when you've got a customer that is, uses something in private preview or uses something in public preview, if they're a large enough customer and if they're doing something of any significant scale, then of course that customer is kind of, people know that there are early access programs, early adopter programs, but for Microsoft, it's got to be of a certain size and significance and then have a good feedback loop because, one of the things, as being an MVP, part of it is feedback on the products. If you use the products in a way that, kind of pushes the boundaries to where the design was, then look, the product group really want to hear back from those kinds of customers. So look, I've been involved in those kinds of things, but I'm certainly not down the pecking order for the secret squirrel stuff. And it's not like I don't know anything that I shouldn't know, if you know what I mean. So
Luke's just saying that DevBox went GA. I actually just saw that pop up just 2 seconds before we started chatting.
There we go. I was going to say, because I know that the pricing live now, because I know that that's been a thing. I know that originally it was, and when it was preview, it was a set of pricing that, to be honest with you, doesn't quite work out economically when you scale it. So I know that there were a whole heap of things going through there. But it's lovely to be. I say lovely. It's interesting to be part of those conversations behind the scenes when you've got a customer wanting to use something and product group aren't there, and and it's completely professional as you'd expect, but it's just interesting to see the mechanics that kind of goes on there. To on one hand, you want your customer to have a great experience, but when you haven't got something there, it's like that mutual understanding where you're working with with your customers to kind of help get it to a point, which is great. And I think that's a really cool thing about, again, being at Microsoft, is that when things are in preview, it's not just an exercise to go and see how many customers you can get. They're at preview, and the dev team, the product teams are there waiting for the feedback. So they're like I say, they're quite cool scenarios to be part of, because it kind of completes the circle of your understanding, if that makes sense.
Here's a good question from Luke again. What would John have liked to have known joining Microsoft that he wish he had known before he started?
What would I have liked to know? Yeah, that is a good question. I'll have to think about that one. I don't know.
Anything take you by surprise? The amount of email that you get.
Yeah, it'll be a really mundane answer I'll give now off the top of my head. But no, I think, honestly, nothing is. I think things have met my expectations, if that's a good answer. When I've gone there, because I've heard from so many people, and I've known quite a lot of people who've worked at Microsoft, you've gone there and it's like, okay, yeah, I can see that. So, which has been quite nice in a way, because it's not been, oh my God, for me it hasn't. And I think, to be honest, that's main. I attribute that purely down to my previous technical background. But yeah, I think what took me by surprise a little bit, I guess, was the fact that my time truly is my time. If I want to clock on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and finish at 11 at night, well, clearly I'm probably not going to get too many customer calls done, but I might have a lot of admin, or I might have a lot of research, or whatever it is that I need to prep for presentations or EBCs. So, but that is down to me, and fundamentally I've got numbers I need to hit, targets I need to hit, and they're not, and I guess so the amount of conversation that in itself generates took me a little bit by surprise. As you imagine, you think, well, if a customer wants something, you start talking to them about it. It's an easy sale. No, it's not. It's
do you ever feel the pressure?
Of course. Yeah, of course. I think every job. I think if you don't feel the pressure, you're probably doing something wrong, right? I think, or you're not exposing yourself to the right things.
You're not running.
But yeah, and I guess that again, that was probably a part of the reason why I moved jobs, is because it got to the point for me in my last job where I wasn't necessarily feeling that pressure. But yeah, when you're in the room, when you're covering, literally you're on a call with a customer and they can come out and ask you any question about Azure and
Yeah,
the answer, it's like, and that's fine, because like I said, it's not me as an island. I'm
yeah,
surrounded by teams
yes,
of great
yes,
people.
excellent.
So
Yeah,
but it's just great. But to answer Dean's point, I'm predominantly UK based. Some of my customers do have other places abroad, overseas, but yeah, predominantly focus on UK accounts.
yeah. Well, Luke makes a good point. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Yeah, that's always a
Yeah,
good saying.
no, I completely agree. I think, and yeah, it's very hard to be the smartest person in the room in Microsoft. That's probably fair to say. I
Yeah,
think,
I can imagine.
yeah,
Okay.
I think,
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for coming on. I think I'm just about. I don't know if anybody's got any Let me just say any quick fire questions.
quick fire.
Yeah.
God, is it an hour
Yeah.
gone already, Gregor? Where did that go?
What's that?
An hour
No.
has gone
Yeah.
already. But
So, yeah, I don't think I've got any. I'm just asking if anyone else has got any quick fire questions. I think I've asked you just about everything I wanted to ask you.
that's cool. Oh.
See, when you leave as an MVP to join Microsoft, do you become, what is it, an alumni or something like that? How does that work?
Yeah, I noticed they changed the wording. That yeah, they've
Mhm.
because they used to have, didn't they? They used to have the kind of, was it the rejoin or the restart
It was
program or
some,
something like that? I
yeah,
think you went
yeah.
and came back. You could, I think they got rid of that now, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken. So I think, but yeah, I noticed they give you a nice little badge. We all have
Hmm.
a badge, don't
Yeah,
we?
yeah.
So,
Yep.
and what's happening with Credley? I was gutted.
Oh,
Credley
yeah, yeah.
going. That's no good. I mean, where am I going to store
Yeah, I
my
think it's only
badges?
good for some. It's only good for some things though. It's not going all together. I thought it was going all together, but Richard was saying it's only for. I think it's only for like Microsoft badges or something like that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I think Microsoft have just, yeah, Credley, I think will stay there. So I think you'll still have your
Mhm. Yeah.
profile, but they're
Yeah.
no longer updating Microsoft badges. So anyway, yeah, I think when I left, you get that sad email where it's been a pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you for joining
Oh,
us.
yeah. I'm
Wasn't on
hopefully
for
never
long.
not going to get that for a while.
Well,
Yeah, that's a shame.
yeah, but yeah, but then I got a badge, which there we go. I put a smile back on my face. I got an extra badge to put on my profile as the MVP alumni. Yeah, alumni is, I think they called it.
Okay, right.
So,
Just before we go, I'm going to play a quick video on who's coming up next. So tomorrow we
cool.
have Simon Lee is coming on. So Simon's on at 7, and then later on we have, after that at 9 o'clock, we have Nicholas Chang. So he's coming on as well. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Yeah, that'll be good. Let's 2 more comments before we go. So yeah, we got an MVP Cradley badge, didn't we? Yes, we did. So that was quite cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, and somebody from LinkedIn, Keith again, is saying yes. Certificate badges are ending on Credley. Yes, so
yeah.
that's going away, I think.
So there's no point doing any more certifications then? Is that what we're saying? I'm
Yeah,
joking.
I've done it all.
I can't-
Starting to lose my voice now.
yeah,
John, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on. I think on behalf of all the people who have missed you, good to see you, good to talk to you. Hopefully you can get back on and crack that 100 record of 100 in
yeah.
conversations with. Let's get
We'll have a
that
go.
sorted. Mm-hmm.
No, it's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thanks for having me on, Gregor. And yeah, good luck with the series, and look forward to the next
Thank
sessions.
you. Just going to play a wee out video on the way out, but hopefully you can all join me again tomorrow when I'm talking to Simon and Nicholas about their careers. So looking forward to that. John, you're a legend. Thank you very much. Thank you. And
Off,
we shall
Gregor.
end the broadcast.